Hello again, everyone, and welcome. My name is Katarina Malkamäki, and I'm the Customer Experience Specialist here at Baotree. Through this BaoBytes series, we've been going through the system in a more general way to start with. Then last week, Jess looked at the new features in our system in more detail. And today will be a bit of a sort of back to basics kind of session. We'll look at how you can truly get the most out of the Baotree system to support your operations. So we'll look at ways in which you can sort of boost your efficiency, get more out of the data that you're actually capturing, and get more accurate data from your operations. We all know that what data you collect and how you collect it determines how well you're able to actually prove your impact, and that's where we actually come back to the core of what Baotree is all about. Each of the features that we'll go through today will really help you deepen the positive impact that the Baotree system can have on your operations. And I think this is super important. Having accurate and trustworthy data is crucial in a world that's more and more saturated, where there's information being pushed our way constantly. And unfortunately, there is a lot of greenwashing as well. Having a way to truly prove your impact is just so crucial. And that kind of data integrity is at the very heart of what we at Baotree stand for. And we're very happy to help our customers do the same with the help of our system. This is also why I was very, very drawn to Baotree personally. I find this so important because I've firsthand seen how crucial it is to have that quality data, and how actually how much damage can also be done if there is no proper evidence for operations. Consistent and quality data really allows for allows you to recognize trends, which helps and guides your operations. And this will inevitably allow for better impact, for deeper impact, and for more meaningful work as well. So because of this, today we want to go through the Baotree system to show you how you can best use it to make your work as impactful as possible, and also use it as evidence to guide your work forward. And how we're going to do this is we're going to go on the journey of a task. And as a small reminder, in case there's someone who didn't know, tasks are forms in our system, so they're the actual data collection forms. And I'm just gonna share my screen and show you a piece of the Baotree dashboard. So we'll first look at why designing a well-working structure is so important. So a well-working data structure.
The activity guides will get paid if we just...
What we want to start with is by making sure that the structure with which you collect and capture data is simple enough. So making sure you've got the important questions, you're asking the important questions, but you're not putting in fluff or anything that's irrelevant to your operations. That'll just mix things up for your team, and it'll make data analysis harder for you as well. We want to make sure that the questions that we're asking from our team members, our data collectors, are actually making sense to your operations, and they actually serve some kind of purpose. We also want to make sure that the data types that we're using are relevant and kind of serve the best purpose to get as accurate as data as possible. And by that, I mean, I'm going to walk us through this task. We've got watching our water task, which is a water meter reading task open here. We've got our template name here, watching our water. We've tagged it to an environment tag, and these are tags that you can determine for your own operations. And then we've also attached it to a UNSDG. Now here on the right, you can see how it will look on the mobile application, which we're going to visit in a bit as well. And then underneath, we've got the actual questions that the data collector is seeing and that they have to fill in. This specific task starts off with a photo field where we're asking for a picture of a water meter. Then we've got a number field, which is then the actual meter reading. So here again, important, we've got the option to put in a number meter, and we know we're asking for a number. So that's the easiest way to go, so that no one starts to type in words or anything. It's easier to just have it simply as a number. And now we're asking for the location or the name of the meter. And we've got two options here. We've got a text field, and then we've also got a select field, like you can see. And now this is where it becomes really important what kind of question type you're picking. If you're asking this in the form of a text field, it'll take your team member more time to type in that same thing, that same word, that same name every single day. Whereas if you have a list of options, it's easy for them to pick that out. There's more chance for human error when you're using a text field in this case. For example, typos. The data collector might forget, okay, what's the actual name of this meter? Maybe it's not written there. So for something like this, for this case, it's much better for you to options of the different that you have for these water meters, and then they can pick it out. So you make the life of your data collector much easier that way, more simple. So we're actually going to delete this one. So like you probably know, you can delete any questions from the tasks by pressing on the cross. So we're going to leave in the option, the single select field. And then just scrolling to the bottom here, we actually have a text field, but here a text field works really well because we're asking for any additional comments. If there's any abnormalities or anything for the data collector to note, they can then write their comments here. So it really depends on what kind of data you're collecting, which data type works best for you. Now I'm just going to leave this task and as a slight reminder, or actually, sorry, let me remind you, we'll go back to watching our water. So basically, like you can see, all of the tasks here are very customizable. You can change around the order, you can make them required or unrequired. You can change the questions and the data types. And that's what's so valuable about the system. We've made it very customizable. And we know that all of you have very unique operations. And it only makes sense for you to be able to capture data in your own unique way, in your own unique formula. So that's why we've built it this way. And whenever you're building tasks, when we build data structures for our customers, what we always come back to and remind ourselves of when we're trying to make structures that actually make sense is that you have to make sure that one person can fill in all of that info in one go. So basically meaning that you wouldn't need two separate team members to fill in that data, or for example, you wouldn't need information that some of it you can access in the morning and some in the afternoon. So in that case, you should have two different tasks and structure it in that way to make your operations smoother. One thing that's really important to remember, now I'm in the projects tab in the dashboard, is that whenever you're adding in new data collectors, new projects, new tasks, to check that you've assigned the correct data collectors into the correct projects. So now we're in this conservation project where that water task is a part of. I'm just going to go into the task templates. Sorry, I'm going to go into data collectors, and then we're going to add a data collector. So I'm going to add myself here, cat, add data collector. So now I, as a data collector, I'm actually able to fill in that task. And this is also really important because if you've got large operations with lots of projects, lots of different areas that you're working in, you don't necessarily want all of your data collectors being able to access all of the forms. That will be quite confusing and also quite unnecessary for everyone to see all of the forms. And they might also accidentally fill in a form that's not relevant to what they're doing. So that's also important to remember. I'm going to stop sharing this for a while, and I'm going to jump into the mobile view. So we're going to have a look at how the app works. Just 1 second.
And just for the record, Kat is right now in Finland, and it's minus 23 degrees, which blew me away when she told me this morning. Back to you, Kat.
Thank you. We there. I think you can see my screen now. The mobile application.
Yes.
So thank you. So we're now in the Baotree application. And this is now that data collector that we just gave rights to that one project. So you've got all the tasks that you could fill in as this specific data collector. Now, what we're going to do for this task is we're going to go into offline mode. So it gives you this prompt, you're currently offline, you can continue to use the app. So this is a really cool feature that we have in the Baotree system, where you can collect data even if you're out of signal. If you can toggle it off yourself like I just did, but if you're actually out of signal, it'll automatically kind of go into offline data collection mode for you. And why this is so important is because it really allows for in the moment data collection, which obviously adds a lot of accuracy. Your team members are less likely to forget if they can actually fill in that data in the moment, and they don't have to wait for a few hours once they're back in signal and then put the info in. And the info that they put in is more accurate as well. So we're going to fill in this watching our water task that we were just looking at. So we've got that, it's asking for the picture of a water meter. We're going to choose that from our gallery. We've got one there. Then meter reading, I'm just going to do 3,200. Now location. So now we've got that nice drop down that we can pick from. We're going to do laundry, confirm, and then comments. Let's just say nothing, oops, to note. And then we're going to submit this task. Now we're still in offline mode. Maybe you saw there on the screen, it said report has been stored into the phone. So it's not lost even though we're in offline mode, but it's also not traveled back into the dashboard just yet. And like I said, it works, everything works in offline mode, but just kind of for smoother operations, making sure that if you do add a new data collector, or you've got a new project, just making sure that those data collectors go into online mode once to kind of pull all that data through before they actually try to fill in data. And also the same thing if you've edited a task, just like we did at the beginning here. So making sure that so that new version of the task can actually pull through into their phones. You want to remind your team members to go online once so that that info pulls through. And now, once you've collected that data offline, say you're somewhere far in the bush out of signal, once the data collector comes back into signal, you do have to remind them to turn their phone on and go into the app and go online. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to toggle this back online, and now you can see tasks uploading there at the top. Now it should have gone through already, and the data should be in the dashboard. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop sharing. There. We're going to go back into the admin dashboard. And into the task feed. Now, like you can see, there's a new task that's come in from Kat. It's been recorded in offline mode, like you can see here. And we're going to look at verifying your data a little bit and why this is so important. So we've actually, right here on the right side, you can see the status of tasks. So we've actually got loads of approved ones here. And then we've got 2 that are submitted. One by Jess. So we're actually just going to go into this task. And why this whole rejecting, approving, or requesting for edit is so important for admin users. So basically what you can do is you can open all of these tasks, look through the information. You can decide, okay, does everything look fine? If yes, you can approve it. There might be something really off. Maybe it's completely irrelevant. You might want to reject it. Maybe it's been double keyed or something. But what we really encourage you to do is request for edits whenever you can. This makes your operations a bit more transparent. It also allows for your data collectors so that they don't have to actually start from scratch every time. So they're getting the task back, they can edit something, but they don't have to fill in the whole task all over again, where they might have forgotten some information. This way you don't lose data, and the level of accountability within your team also grows, and it becomes more of like a learning process as well. Your team starts to learn what's actually important and what to pay attention to and those kinds of details. So that's why for this one, this task, I'm seeing that there's a slight problem with the meter reading. It says 3,000, but let's say I, as the admin user, know that that's wrong for some reason. So we're just going to tell Jess the meter reading is wrong. Now she's going to receive this notification on her phone, and she's going to have the chance to edit the task. So we're just going to confirm that, and that's been sent through to her.
Great. So yeah, Kat, I can actually see the note, or you can see my lovely husband as well. But my notification has come through. And if I open that up in my app, I've got the notification in my section there that says that there's a request for edit. And so I've had a look there. The meter reading is wrong from what you said, and I can actually see I have made an error here. I definitely input a number that was a lot higher. So I'm going to quickly just edit that now for you. And yeah, the location seems correct. Perfect. I'm going to just make that edit and submit it. And if you give it a refresh, it should come through to you now. It's busy uploading. So yeah, I think that edit should have come through, and you can have a look and see if you can now approve my data.
Amazing. It's here now. So like you can see, there's this old task that's the status is rejected for edits. And now we have a new one here by Jess again, which says it's an edit from this task. And now we can go into this one. We can approve this one because now the meter reading looks correct. And now the task has been approved. Before I talk more about downloading data out of the system, I'm just going to show you another way that Jess talked more about last week of capturing data, which is the desktop data entry. The login page looks like this, and just like on your mobile application, because you're filling this in as a data collector, so you're going to sign in on your phone. And what's really great about the desktop data entry is that if you're filling in tasks that maybe you have to write longer form text in, perhaps you want to add documents, maybe some Excel sheets, maybe there's like a monthly summary that you want to have and you want to attach an Excel sheet or a PDF document. That's all possible from here. So longer form text will obviously be nicer to type in here rather than on your phone. And then when you click on here, there's different documents that you can add in. So that's just a quick note on desktop data entry, just to make your workflow a little bit easier if you are someone who is also office-based at times and have access to a computer. So that's been a feature that's been very liked by the office-based teams that have been using Baotree. We'll have a look at actually using the data, making the best use of it, the one that's been coming into the system. How can we actually use it to our best use? I'm actually going to just approve this. This is the task that I put in as well. Like you can see, it was reported in offline mode. All the info is here, including that picture. This meter reading is correct, so we're just going to approve that. Great. And then we're going to go back into the task feed. And why it's so important to approve data and not just let everything come in and analyze whatever data's in there. You want to make sure you're actually analyzing quality data. Is when you're exporting data out of the system into a spreadsheet, we have these filters here where you can, for example, filter by status. So we're just going to do approved. So now it'll only show us the approved tasks. And then I'm going to do this specific task, which was watching our water. There. We're going to export this data. Yeah. And now we've got all of that data from those tasks that have been filled in a nice clean Excel sheet. Just going to make those a little bit wider. I'll just walk you through what we can see here. So in the beginning, we've kind of got the basic information, whether it's being reported in online or offline mode, when it's being done, task numbers, all of those. If you've got a tag, if you've got a project, all of those names are there. And then when you scroll a little bit further, you can get the actual data that your data collectors have captured. So we've got the photo, the picture of water meter reading, then the actual meter reading, then the location, all of that. And if there's comments, those are shown there as well. And now, just to show you as an example of how it's very easy to analyze this information, is, for example, this one was a water usage task. And let's say we're wanting a monthly summary of water usage. Now this meter is a cumulative one. So what we need to do is we need to minus the last task from the first one. And then you've got the result here, 1,900, which is valuable info that you've gotten from all of those tasks that have been collected. Now, this is a simple example of a simple task, but you can use it in different ways to actually analyze your impact. Now, this, we could say we've, in a way, reached the end of the journey of a task. But just coming back to where we started, to why we're actually collecting and capturing this data, there's often something that we actually want to do with this data. Now we have some results. We've done a little bit of analysis on our data, but what does that actually mean? Like what story is it telling? What impact is it having? And that's why we also really encourage when you're building out your data structure, that as you're building out those forms and those questions, you keep in mind what you're actually trying to do, and if there's a story that you're trying to tell. A lot of our customers, I know a lot of you here, do impact reporting. You want to tell your story. You want to tell your impact. It could be to donors, it could be to clients, it could be for fundraising, for different purposes. So it's really important to be able to then translate that data into a story, into an impact report. And we've noticed that the best result is when you actually start creating that from when you're creating your structure. So you actually build your structure to serve an impact report. So that you maybe have an impact report structure in place that you can always fill in again and again based off of the data that you've captured, say in the last quarter or the last year, or however often you're doing reporting. And there's a few tips, a few things to think about when doing that, so that you can do it in as impactful a way as possible. It's so important to think about what info actually needs to be told. And this goes back again to building the task. You don't want to be asking irrelevant questions that don't actually tell anything, or they're just like filler data in your impact report that doesn't actually have any kind of meaning. So we want to get rid of that. We want to keep it simple. We want to keep it quite high level. We want to be able to tell a story. So creating a narrative out of the data that you've collected makes numbers actually meaningful, and makes the impact that you've proved through data actually meaningful. It's not always important to report on necessarily everything. Picking out the most important bits will also make that reporting much more impactful. And showing how your team, how your operations are moving towards its goals. And that kind of narrative, that kind of storytelling also makes it much more interesting to read what you're doing, and get that story out there. As just an example of that kind of storytelling, proving your impact, if you're, for example, trying to reduce grid electricity, you could highlight how much solar power you've been using and how much you've been increasing the use of renewable power. And due to that, how much the use of grid power has gone down. And kind of just creating a story out of that is quite easy, and makes your work more impactful, makes that data, which can be just boring numbers, seem, and it is much more impactful that way. So that's how we can really change those numbers into an actual story. So that is the journey of a task, from creating a data collection form, so a task template, all the way through the data collector, back to the dashboard, into perhaps an Excel spreadsheet, if that's what you like, into an impact report. And we've come to the end of the webinar bit, or me talking bit of this webinar. And before we take any questions, we've got some time for questions and comments. We wanted to do that little contest that we promised we'd have today. Just as a reminder, the prize for the winner is $50 off your next Baotree subscription. I'd like to again congratulate Tandatula on winning last week's contest. Unfortunately, Tandatula, we won't let you participate again this week, so we're going to give someone else a chance to win this week. And now, to participate, you can scan, Jess has just shared the QR code for participating. So you can scan this with your phone and then fill in your answers. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do this.
Thanks, Kat.
And then
if everyone can just let us know if you're not able to access the QR code by scanning it, and you really want to enter, just let us know and we can send you the link so that you can be part of the competition.
Great.
All right, Kat, are you happy for me to take over from you?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking us all through the journey of a task, and I hope that for everyone on the call today, you're able to gain some new insight into the system. I know many of you have been using it for a long time. And hopefully there's some good reminders in there. I know for me, and I mean, I use Baotree every day of my life. And it's always nice to have the refresher and to see, how can we improve in the way that we're using Baotree. So yeah, I love seeing the journey of a task because from where it's born to where it ends up is always cool. And I think that where it ends up part is what we're all trying to get out of this. We're trying to prove impact. We're trying to prove that the work that we're doing is moving the needle, and yeah, that all starts with that simplified structure. So thank you for taking us through that today, Kat. At this point, I want to pause and give all of you a chance to ask some questions, give feedback. I did see a question in the chat, so I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen just so I can read it. So this was, yes, you made mention there was that the amount that was calculated was incorrect because I had entered a task on top of it as a edited task. So it's obviously what we call it, an outlier. Yes, your data collectors are possibly going to make errors as they are entering data. Hopefully over time that becomes less and less. But that is where it is so important to have your admin users who are checking the data that's coming in. And when you do download your data, that you are doing a sense check on what's in there if there are edited tasks. So Shane, I did see that you'd said there, yes, you can go in, you can fix it, absolutely. And it's just important that you do that sense check. Obviously, in this kind of setting, we're using that as an example. Your admin users, we'd like to think of it as a prestigious role, that you are going in there, you're really the gatekeeper of making sure that the data that then goes into your reports is accurate and is what you need. We did make mention last week of our analytics and those sorts of things that are coming in, and that will also obviously be an add-on to this. But with those Excel downloads, you are able to change and manipulate without affecting the raw data that lives securely in the system. So yes, you do need to have that element of just checking that everything is correct. But you can see that it was an edited task, and so it's very quick to pick that up and say, okay, it belongs to the other task. That's why we have the two task numbers, and you can match those up and see, okay, this is the date of that water reading in this instance. So I hope that answers that question. And I then want to give you a chance to comment on that again, or otherwise ask any other questions on any part of the Baotree system.
Happy with that answer. It's just that we need to make sure that we check those Excel exports for any data irregularities due to edited input, which will obviously be in the wrong data.
Yes, perfect. And so, yeah, exactly. So that's where you would check where it says edited from. You would just find the corresponding task number and make sure that they correlate. But amazing. Glad that helps. Cool. Any other questions? Anything burning that you've been wanting to ask us?
Yes, I'm wondering if you could share your screen again. I think, well, Emily was asking for the link. I'm guessing that's the link for the contest.
Let me pop the link to
the QR.
I can actually pop the quiz link in the chat as well. So if anyone's unable to access it that way, you'll be able to just follow the link in the chat, which there you go.
Thank you.
Awesome. No further questions. Emily, I
Emily.
see your hand is up.
Hello.
Hi.
Not really a question, just
Sure.
a warning. Because I know the way that we do the approvals is not ideal. When we do the water and the solar and stuff like that, it will definitely be like that. But obviously, because we've got it's actually client feedback, and then they have to move straight on to do other stuff. We can't go like clawing. Well, we don't even know who it was, so we can't go clawing them out and saying, no, you need to do this, you made an error. So we can use a common sense, like, okay, they've missed half the questions, so we're just going to void that data because it's clearly not been done properly. We're trying to put in systems to make sure it doesn't happen. But yeah, unfortunately, that's part of it is going to be a little bit different, unless you have a better idea of how we can do it.
Cool. No.
Jess.
Yeah, go for it, Tree.
So just to contextualize this for the rest of the group on the call, Emily works for a company called Koru Camps, and they facilitate conservation education. And as a conservation organization, they provide education to kids on the border of the Kruger to understand what's happening beyond the fence. And so they do an amazing job at running these 2 to 3 day camps where kids come from Bushbuck Ridge, an informal settlement, into their camps to learn environmental awareness, environmental education. And so what Emily's talking to is there's a pre and post assessment survey that gets conducted. And so in some use cases, there's going to be nuances because when from a tourism point of view, you rightly called it out, Emily, that it does make a little bit more sense for those types of data sets and those types of data structures. But because sometimes you'll have one person getting a survey response off one device from multiple different kids, it does become a challenge in terms of how that gets approved or not. And so I think just to ensure that data is entered, we can always, I know Jess has already shared this with you behind the scenes, but like that mandatory or required field will just ensure that data input is done and can't be missed. And so, yeah, very much always trying to think, and like this type of feedback that you're providing us with, Emily, gives us just a nice way to understand these different use cases, because it's our greatest strength as well as our greatest chaos, because it's Baotree can be used for anything. And there's a lot of unstructured data that the system has to work with. And so that's where it's like sometimes this feature might make so much sense here, but not so much sense here. So given that nonprofits and tourism organizations are our bread and butter, it's always seeing how we can marry the two from a feature release and application that will give and make the most sense to your particular unique set of requirements. So thanks, Emily. I'm going to pass it back to Jess. Just want to contextualize that for everyone as well.
Awesome. No, thanks, Trina. I think, yeah, you've covered most of it there. And Emily, to what you were talking about, I think if there is something like that where, you know, you would love to use the approval process, but it's not 100% working because in your case, you know, it might be that a kid is now, you know, they're not part of the program anymore, we can definitely have a conversation with you and just chat more about those structures that we have in place already. You've got beautiful data coming in. Maybe there's a small gap here, and we can just have a chat with you and see what's the best way to do that. We do also have other clients who their processes, they either leave it as submitted or they reject it. So if there's an issue, they just reject it and they use it in that way. There's multiple ways to use those 3 options. You might not be requesting an edit, but you might reject it and just resubmit it at a later date. So yeah, we can pick and choose really what works best for you. And that's why we've got the customer support team, that we here, customer experience team, sorry, that we're here to really kind of be an extension of your team and support with understanding how can we fit your needs into Baotree. Cool. Shane, over to you.
Hello, Jess. How are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good, thanks. One thing that I've picked up recently with a whole bunch of my data capturing that some of my people have done is specifically with our meter readings when they put it in. If they're typing it in and they put a comma in the meter reading, when it comes through on the system, the comma's not there. It shows all the numbers straight after each other. Then I had to send a request for an edit so that they could put the point and not a comma
Okay.
in there. Just something that I picked up on, and I couldn't, being the administrator, I could see what the error was, but I couldn't just edit it quickly myself. I had to send it back to them and tell them, change it rather to a point and not a comma.
Okay. No, thanks, Shane. It's really good feedback and good for us to know. The one, I won't say challenge, but it's easily workaroundable, not a good word, but is that we are dealing with different devices. So when we build, we're obviously building for Android and we're building for Apple. And sometimes the two dashboards or the two interfaces can be slightly different. And so what I can go and do is actually have a look at that. I'll have a chat with our tech team about it. And it might be that one of those, we just need to make an adjustment there. Easily fixed, easily sorted. The other option is we could look at changing the field type. So we can have a look and see what you've got in there right now and change it to something else. So it kind of locks them into using a specific keyboard. But thank you for the feedback. We'll definitely have a look at it after the call today.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Cool. Anything else from anyone else? Sarah. Sarah, can you hear us?
I can't hear Sarah.
Sarah, if you want to pop your question in the chat, I can respond to it there if you're able to hear me. All right. Anyone else have questions while we're waiting for Sarah's question to come into the chat? No other questions. This is where I'm going to have to start singing or waxing lyrical about something else.
Hello. Hello.
Hi. Sorry.
Hello. Hi. Do you hear me?
Yes. Sorry. Who is speaking? Because is it Simon?
This is Simon. Hi.
Hi, Simon. How are you?
Yes, great. Yeah. So, well, probably I joined a little bit later, and I've just sorry, I'll just take you back. From the explanation I saw, especially the editing. I'm just wondering if somebody forget to load the photo and already has a photo taken with the location and you captured, and you want later to edit, probably you want to, I don't know whether, can you upload back again after, when you go back to your station and then you get signal, you get internet, could you get back that photo now? If you forget to load it, is it possible or something that will be taken by events?
So the photo that, if you took the photo the first time, it should save into your camera, into the phone's camera roll. So it will still be on the device. And yes, you can then re-upload it later on. That isn't an issue at all. Is that what you're asking? Does that answer your question?
Yes, whether you can, load it
Perfect.
back,
Yes,
okay.
so you definitely can. It's the way that it's set up. And again, this is if someone has changed the settings on their phone, it would be different. But the way that it works is when you take a photo with Baotree, it will save it into your camera roll and you can then upload it later.
Oh, great. Okay.
Okay,
Okay, great. Yeah.
wonderful. All right, I see. Okay, Sarah, thank you. I see your questions come in. So, your question is on the approval process, and you said, would it be possible to reverse or reinstate a task that was accidentally rejected? It's a great question, and it is something that we are looking at with the tech team now. At the moment, once you have set a permission, set a category, so you've approved it or rejected it, it does set that in the system. The reason being is that we've always said to all of our customers that the Baotree system is fully auditable. And so what that means is if we allowed for that to be changed frequently, it gets a little bit messy. That said, we are working on it now that the system will still capture if you changed a status back. So it was rejected and then you open it again. But at the moment, it does set it to whatever the admin chooses. So if you approve it or reject it, it is going to be set in that way. If you have an issue with something, you can send us an email and we can have a look at it for you on a case-by-case basis in the back end of the system and try and support you from our side. But again, it's why it is really important for you to not just quickly click through your approval process. You do want to be quite intentional about looking at the data and approving or rejecting it. All right. Anyone else that would like to share feedback, any thoughts or comments? Now is your chance. Or you have my email. All right. Perfect. If there's no other questions or comments, Kat, I'm going to hand it back to you and just say thank you so much, everyone, for the time today.
After Kat, I'm going to throw in one last nugget.
All right. Amazing. Thank you, Jess, for taking all those questions. I hope you all managed to participate in the contest. I'd like to thank all of you on my part for joining today's Journey of a Task webinar. I really hope it gave you some new insights. And even if you've been using the system for long, maybe there were little reminders and nuggets of wisdom that can help you in some way improve your operations and how you use the Baotree system. I think it was already set in the chat that beginning of next week, if you're interested, there's going to be a recording of this session, so you can look back on it then. That's also when we're going to announce the winner of the contest for today. So you can look out for that email in your inbox. But otherwise, like Jess said, we're here always to support you. If you have any further questions, maybe something came up during this session that you want to get back to us on, you know our emails, we're always here. Thank you so much from me, and I'll hand it over to Tree.
Thank you, Kat, and thank you so much, Jess. Team, what a wonderful webinar, just very insightful to dig a few layers deeper. I just wanted to take a moment to say that we are very excited because Kat next month is joining the journey of motherhood. And so she is just left Kenya to go to Finland to be with the family for that new journey, and we're just super excited. And thanks, Kat. I know there's a lot of energy that comes with holding space in a webinar, and you did a great job, so thank you. And yeah, we have no doubt that you're going to be missed, not just by the Baotree team, but some of these lovely people in this community here. So thanks everyone for joining. For those who enjoy Valentine's Day, a bit of a marketing day for love, but just enjoy love every day. Don't want to be a party pooper. But yeah, enjoy it. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you soon.